Hey, this is Shane from TheCamel.co. I'm the CEO of this mob here, and we're doing our vlog, and I think this is the second last or the last in the series. Second last? Second last or last? Second last, so there's one more to go after this. And last week we did Fork in the Road, which was huge, right? And we had our chicken, which was live. Now, if you hear the chicken in the background, just imagine that it's an audience clapping and cheering, okay? So the chicken gets motivated by what we're talking about, and he goes, "Roo-roo, yo beauty!" That's what the chicken does. Anyway, today, in Rise to the Future, we're going to talk about something very important after we've done Fork in the Road, and that is Sharpen the Saw. Now, why did I choose Sharpen the Saw for this vlog? Well, one of my great friends and mentors, rest in peace, Stephen Covey, wrote the most amazing book of all time. Right, two great books. Anthony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. Second one was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. They both came out about the same time, right? Mind you though, Robbins was rah, 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 right? Chest up and stuff, whereas Stephen Covey was a very mild individual, and his was a little bit more laid back. And Stephen Covey was great, 7 beautiful lessons on how to be a far more effective individual. But one of his first lessons was sharpen the saw. Now, what does it mean? Sharpen the saw means to work on the 4 greatest assets that you have as an individual before you can move towards peak performance. And as we said, we're looking at a fork in the road. We're looking at rising in the future. So you've got to sharpen the saw before you can get any of that done. And what are the 4 greatest assets? Number 1 is physical. Number 2 is social. Number 3 is spiritual. And number 4 is mental. Now understand, these are your personal 4 greatest assets. So what do we mean by physical? Okay, you've had 8 months of this COVID thing. And as we said, it's a fork in the road now. You're ready to move forward. And physically, you've had 8 months where you've been a bit of a couch potato. You've had 8 months where you might have had a few more beers than normal. You've had 8 months where you haven't been to the gymnasium. You've had 8 months where you've eaten beautiful food, probably a little bit fattening, a little bit too much cholesterol. So your physical well-being, let's face it, guys, gals, may be a little bit of a couple of kilos more than normal. Well, if you're going to go out there and really start hammering the world, you really got to sharpen the saw physically. So maybe it's time now to get back to the gym. Maybe it's time to dust off that exercise bike and start to do a few laps. Maybe it's time to put on a YouTube video on band and stretch, reach for the sky. Maybe it's time to get yourself physically right. Maybe it's time to sharpen the saw physically. Socially, right? One of the things that we need to do, and it's very important in business, is to socialize, to network. What have we been doing for the last 8 months? Zoom, baby, Zoom. We haven't been out there talking to people and getting to interact with people. We're going to start doing that again. We're going to start to get social. Now, you might only be able to do it in small numbers or whatever, but you've got to start to get out there. You've got to start to contact your network. You've got to go out there and start to interact with people. You've got to get social again. Next thing about it is spiritual. Now, some of you may go to church, some of you may not. Right now, does spiritual mean you have to go to church? No, it'd be wonderful if you picked up that Bible. It'll do you good. But if you can't, spiritual means meditating. Spiritual means relaxing. Spiritual means listening to some beautiful music. Spiritual means getting into yourself or getting into a higher power and starting to realize that the spiritual side of you is just as important as the physical, social, and mental, right? If you're right with yourself, if you're right with God, incredible things can happen to you, right? So sharpen the saw spiritually. A lot of us haven't been to church for a long time, right? Doesn't hurt to get back there on a Saturday or Sunday, right? A lot of us haven't picked up that Bible. A lot of us haven't done a lot of things. Now's the time to get spiritual again, right? Mental. What does mental mean? Yeah, well, you probably watched a lot of YouTube. You probably watched a lot of Netflix. You probably watched a lot of games. You've been sitting there playing, right? That doesn't do anything for you mentally. Yeah, it might give you a heart race, a bit of a pump, right? But it doesn't do anything for teaching you something. It doesn't do anything about enhancing your skills. So what you got to do is make a plan to sharpen the saw mentally, right? Start watching some interactive blogs like this one. Start reading about what the industry's doing. Start to get up to date about where your products and services are fitting within the market. Start getting in there and asking your customers, how you going? Where do you want to be? How are you going to cope with your fork in the road? What can I do for you? Start listening, improving, start learning, right? Get that mental faculty that's been a little bit asleep. It's been more stress than thinking this last 8 months. Start to sharpen the saw mentally. So you got those 4 points? Physical, social, spiritual, mental. And if we wanted to add a 5th one, what would be the 5th one? Get on with it, kids. Now's the time. Now's your time. You're going to sharpen that saw so it's so sharp you can cut through any tree, and when you hit that fork in the road, you're going to go moving forward like never before. Because that's what it's all about. But you've got to get yourself ready. So before we got to next week, which is all about making a plan, what do we have to do? We have to work out what have we got to sharpen first. You've had 8 months where you've been laying around a bit, you've been worrying a bit, and now it's time to lift up. And to do that, you need to get some skills going. Sharpen the saw. Listen to Mr. Covey. He was a smart man. Right? You have a fantastic day. This is Shane from TheCamel.co. Don't forget, we're a great fulfillment part of Aduda. We also do digital marketing and all sorts of other things, and we can even cook a great curry. And that'll do us for today. Don't forget, click down there, subscribe. You have a fantastic day. See ya.